Hi everybody, MZ from g33kWatch here. I'm here with Erin Gould. We just finished at the premiere of Casters, a new show that does a behind-the-scenes look at a couple of podcasters in New York City. So Erin, let me ask you, what made you decide to start making this?
It was born out of a couple things. I tried to get another web series off the ground, and it was too epic. It was too big. It couldn't be done. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, Mark Malkoff, who, if you don't know him, look him up online. He's a very interesting individual, and he's also in the second episode. And we were just kind of chatting. What are you doing next? What are you doing next? And I co-host a podcast called But I Digress. And I'm a huge fan of podcasts. Never Not Funny, Doug Loves Movies. I mean, I'm obsessed with these. And literally after this conversation, I walked around the corner and it hit me. I love behind-the-scenes stuff. I love The West Wing and Studio 60. I love podcasts. Why not do a behind-the-scenes of a podcast, but also have a podcast to listen to? And by the time I got on the bus and got home, and it literally had formed itself. And from there on, it was just hit the ground running.
Very cool. This is an existing podcast. Did this exist before you started making the show?
It did not exist. It exists because of the show, and the actors, I put them on a steady diet of podcasts. I had them listen to mine. I had to listen to Never Not Funny, hosted by Jimmy Pardo, who's very quick. Never Not Funny can almost be described as boot camp banter. It's so fast. So I wanted them to kind of get the rhythm of it. And the way I write anyway has a rhythm to it that they have to get as well. So they really did a great job doing it. And the first interview, Jason, who plays Tal, one of the leads, did so much research on the guest that he came in prepared. And he just carried it. And Miriam, who plays Ronnie, was right there alongside him.
So in the podcast, are they going to be playing their fictional characters that are in the show?
Yes, they play, Jason plays Cal, Miriam plays Ronnie, but the guests play themselves a rather heightened version of themselves. And I usually know the guests beforehand so I can write to them and write to their strengths. And we got a few guests that are coming up that I've asked to kind of be more integrated in the storyline, and that's coming up in a few episodes. And we only have a limited amount of episodes that we're doing. But yeah, every guest plays themselves and the actors play the characters. That was a long way to go for them, so I apologize.
It's perfectly fine.
No worries. So if you could go into like the creative process, like what you do to make both the podcast and the show.
Sure. For me, the most important thing about this series, as opposed to some other web series, and this is not to knock anything that's out there by any stretch of imagination, I can't write funny bits. I can't write, hey, in this episode he falls on a pie, and then in the next episode he falls on a pie again. I can't do that. It bores me, so I have to do storylines. Aaron Sorkin, Joss Whedon, these are people I'm very influenced by. And I said influenced in a really weird way, as if I were from some foreign land. Influenza. I had influenza once. I had rickets. Mike, focus here, please. Scott. Sierra Nevada is free tonight. Anyway, so for me, it's mostly about what are the characters doing and where are they going next. We're only doing 6 episodes, and I know where they're going from episode 1 to 2 to 3, all the way to 6. I know where they're going. It's just a matter of how do we get them there. The guests are almost secondary, but I found a way to kind of integrate them into the storyline and to make them important to what's going on in some respects. Especially like the second episode with Mark Malkoff, who I mentioned. He plays a really big role in what happens. And so I try to fit that in. But first and foremost, it's about the storyline. I write that, and then the podcast is basically, here's the guest, go do the research. And Jason is amazing at doing the research. He comes in, he's got a notebook full of notes and questions, and he brings it.
When is the show being actually out for the public?
The first part of the first episode, because the episodes are so long, we're cutting them in half. The first part of the first episode will be up on March 30th in a few days.
Okay.
I don't know when this airs, 7 months ago. So it'll be up there. And then the following week, we won't have the second part. We're going to have some behind-the-scenes stuff. Then the week after, we'll have the second part as well as the podcast itself.
Okay.
While the series itself is free, the podcast is 99 cents. In the big scheme of things, you're getting 22 minutes of video for free. 99 cents for a podcast interview, not a lot to pay for. It's a pretty good deal, actually.
Yeah.
And
how long are the podcasts?
An hour.
An hour.
It's a full-length hour interview with the guests themselves. So and there's great stuff. We have Joe Young and Brian Frank are the first guests. Mark Malkoff is the second guest. And I don't want to say any more beyond that because we've got some surprises coming up.
All right.
We just spilled it. Stop it. Sorry, I lied. That was a lie. Cut that puzzle. Mike, are you wasted right now? Are you drunk?
No. Just having a really good
You gotta
time.
get him drunk.
The Casters was amazing. I'm really looking forward to the next episodes coming out.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Aaron.
Thank you very much, Mike. And watch Casters.